listening to Sudbury News Talk.
I want to show you something.
Stand by. On the morning shift.
Anything
could happen.
Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift.
Hey everybody, good morning and welcome to Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift. I'm AJ Walsh, glad to be here with you. Thankful that you're here with us. We got a great show planned for everyone this morning as usual. We got some weather. There's an alert out there, so just a heads up to everybody. It's going to be potentially some crazy possible freezing rain out there. Not good for traveling and who knows for whatever else, but we'll have that coming up shortly. And the Wolves will be in action tomorrow night, Friday night, and Saturday here in town as part of a 5-game homestand. We'll have local news, some things going on locally, and then also a new bill was put forward yesterday. We'll talk about that. It has to do with their kind of the next step in their online censorship, dressed up as some other things, but we'll unpack that for you. Sometimes politicians lie, sometimes, not often. Politicians mostly tell the truth, as we've learned through history, but we'll show one of the rare moments where possibly the politicians are saying one thing, but they have a different agenda moving forward. Very rare. It's very uncommon that politicians do things like that, but we'll show one of the rare instances today on the show, so we're looking forward to that. We are live on Facebook.com/Sudbury News, YouTube.com/Sudbury News. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Follow. But mainly comment, because this is your show. It's a facilitated conversation about the news and events happening not only in Greater Sudbury, but around Canada and around the world. So welcome if you are newer to the show, and welcome back if you are on the show regularly. Glad to have you either way. And let's get this show started. We will start off with a little bit of weather and we'll be back. So stick with us right after this. It's going to be a great show. All right, and Sudbury weather is, as usual, brought to you by sudburyweather.ca. And there is a special weather statement. It is currently -1. It feels like -5. It's partly cloudy, but don't let that deceive you, because Environment Canada has issued a weather statement for Greater City of Sudbury and vicinity. They say a strong low-pressure system will affect the area today throughout Wednesday, bringing with it a multitude of precipitation types. Precipitation will begin as showers, with the risk of thunderstorms this morning through tonight. The rain will transition over to freezing rain or ice pellets Wednesday morning, and then over to snow through Wednesday afternoon. During the transition from liquid to frozen precipitation, temperatures will rapidly drop into the minus teens, leading to the potential of flash freeze. Now, again, that's not just a warning or an advisory or a statement for drivers. I mean, this could be something that could, lead to a power outage like we've seen in different other areas, different times in Canada, different ice storms, right? So not sure if that will have a similar effect here, but has a potential of that. Just want to put it out there. The snow is expected to taper off Wednesday night with 5 to 10 centimeters possible. Hazardous travel conditions are expected on roads, may become icy with freezing rain, snow, and flash freeze. Warnings and advisories may be issued as the event draws nearer. Please continue to monitor the situation by consulting Environment Canada. That's where everybody pretty much gets their weather from. So today, cloudy, a few showers beginning this morning. Risk of thunderstorm, as we said earlier, late this morning and this afternoon. The wind will be 20 kilometers per hour, pretty light. And tonight, showers, periods of drizzle, then risk of thunderstorm. Tomorrow, rain changing to freezing rain or ice pellets mixed with snow in the morning. Then a snow mixed with ice pellets in the afternoon. Local blowing snow later in the afternoon as the temperature starts to fall. Snow and ice pellets amount to 5 centimeters. Wind will be gusting up to 60 kilometers in the afternoon. And then temperatures falling to minus 17 in the afternoon. Wind chill will feel like minus 28. So in the afternoon, the temperature will be minus 17, but feel like around minus 30. So that's how much the temperature will change tomorrow afternoon. So very crazy weather as usual these days. And as you can see it in the extended forecast, Wednesday, rain or freezing rain, high of +2. But then, like we said, changing drastically to like with the wind chill minus 30. And then the following 2 days, Thursday and Friday, sunny, Thursday minus 10. And then Friday, sunny and +3. And then Saturday, Sunday, Monday, 7 degrees, 4 degrees, 8 degrees. So it's just like this weird anomaly coming to, today and tomorrow kind of thing with the temperature fluctuation and all that stuff. And then it's going back to, cold on Thursday, but at the same time, sunny and then warmer and sunny on Friday. But we'll see if that continues. You know how the weather changes all the time. It does. It's not always exactly what it says it's going to be. And there's a look at your satellite. Pretty darn cloudy over Canada. It seems to be below us, a lot of clearing. But other than that, above us and above, it's pretty cloudy. That's your Sudbury weather. Brought to you by SudburyWeather.ca. We'll be back with a little sports update and news headlines from around the city and a little deep dive into online censorship. What the heck and why? What's the end game? What's all this stuff about? Why is the internet so dangerous all of a sudden to you? It's we need to keep you safe from you and what you do with your fingers on the keyboard and what you're looking at with your eyes. You need to be kept safe, and there's nobody better to do that than our federal government, the keepers of your safety. So we'll be back with that, and I'm a little tongue-in-cheek there, but I'll be back with that and more in your comments after this. Stay tuned. All right, and it is a little busy this morning for me on this on these devices, trying to get everything up and running. Just want to see if we can get the live stream here to see how many people we have on. We got a nice little group on so far, so thanks for being with us. And we've had some viewers sending us some material lately. I have something to share. I think Liette shared something that goes right along with what I wanted to share today. Anyways, and that happens a lot of times. And so I really apologize if you sent me something and I didn't share it on the show. It's not on purpose at all. It really just happens to be if it's the timing with what's going on in the day, what's in the news, if it goes along with what we're going to be talking about on the show, right? So please, it's not done on purpose. We have first to the Facebook party, Judy. Good morning, Judy. Thanks for being with us. And just talked about you, Liette. We're going to share that video this morning. Good morning from Collingwood. And Belinda, usually a positive statement of the day, says, good morning. Sometimes what you lose isn't a loss, but an alignment. And that is exactly true. Where one door closes, another opens. And that's, it's just the way life works, right? Leon, good morning to you. NDP supporting the Liberals, the most corrupt party in Canadian history. Then what does that make the NDP? It is true. It's a non-voted for coalition kind of one party, the NDP Liberal Party that we have. The constitution of that party, the one party NDP Liberal, is interesting because no one's voted for that. Justin Trudeau and the Liberals got a minority Liberal win in Canada, which shows you something. But then the NDP get together with the Liberals and they basically have a lot of the same ideologies. It's hard to see the difference. To me, it'd be interesting to sit down with them and say, where do you differ? Like in terms of what you want Canada to be and what you think it's going to take Canada, what's your vision of Canada? And just ask the two leaders of those two parties to differentiate them, because I don't see a differentiation. And obviously Jagmeet Singh has all the power in the world to stop things, but why would he? He's never going to be elected as the Prime Minister of Canada. I'm saying that just because of the amount of votes that they received last election, and it doesn't look like they're anywhere in the polls. So why would he go against when he's enjoying all of the if he was in power, basically it's almost the same, because he's getting everything that he would want put forward, because he tells Justin Trudeau, if you don't do this, then I'm going to back down. And Justin Trudeau knows that the only way that both of them can stay in power is to work together, which is interesting. We didn't vote for that, but at the same time, that's what's going on, right? So just interesting politics. It's not a well-oiled, perfect machine. That's for darn sure. Maurice, good morning. Thanks for being with us, along with Claire. Good morning. And Victoria, thanks for being with us as well. Good morning. Marianne, good morning from Barrie. No notification here, but liked and shared. Thank you very much. No, it's true. A friend of mine, a very good friend of mine, said, yeah, I used to get notifications all the time on the show, but never gets them anymore. And that doesn't surprise me. There's algorithms and whatever, and we know that things aren't organic online. They're already censored either by the platforms or by, government legislation. And so the two are in bed together, and it was part of the plan. It's big tech, big government, and big business all together at the table, deciding what's best for us, right? And we'll get more into that a little bit later as well. Good morning from Espanola, Ontario. That's Denise. Thanks, Denise, for joining us, easing us into credit scores. Everything we think and say will be scored. That's right. Just like hockey, right? He shoots, he scores, or he gets scores deducted and cannot get on the city bus kind of thing because he liked a certain thing on Facebook that the government didn't like. And so he lost a couple points. As our dollars are changed into points instead of dollars, the government can just then automatically deduct points that you're using to buy food and to do your thing instead of money, and just automatically deduct it because you liked, let's say, Pierre Poilievre's post. We already have examples of that with Jordan Peterson with the Ontario Colleges of Psychologists, Ontario College of Psychologists. And they basically want him to get re-educated, or he will lose his license because of things that he's liked or said online, right? So there's an example of you're going to be punished for your political beliefs or what you believe. And eventually you're going to see what this world was all about even in the first place, because it's going to flex its muscles and say, if you don't go with the world, what it was designed to do in the first place, and choose the world over choosing you know, the idea of mankind was created and the world was created for mankind, not the opposite, and that it was all done by design, and you choose to be a free individual, and that's what you're here to do, is to be able to choose that freedom, or choose captivity. That's kind of like what it is. The world is all about that, and the other is about allowing you to make decisions on your own, whether they're right or wrong. And if you make wrong decisions, there's consequences. But the world is created almost like a computer program for us to be, if you will, tested or test ourselves, or, be able to have the ability to learn and to grow as individuals as we decide for ourselves. But as soon as somebody takes away that decision, it takes away the whole plan of why we're here in the first place. And then there has to be intervention, which you see, that's when you have cataclysmic destructions happening, because it's taking away the whole reason for the earth being here for us. It's here for us. Now we're starting to worship the planet instead, and we want to preserve the planet and kill humans because humans are affecting the planet. But that's a very opposite, inverted, as everything is usually inverted these days. It's an inverted way of thinking. Get rid of humans so you can save the planet. Planet was made for humans, right? So it's interesting. But if we lose that idea and nobody even realizes that, then we're susceptible to all of that indoctrination or ideology. Good morning, Debbie. Thanks for being with us. Belinda, deep state in a panic. They are losing the narrative. This is their last resort to try to take back their power. Censorship is a weak man's last resort, for sure. Again, our conversation is right in line with where we're going to be with our deep dive today. Morning, Vin. Thanks for being with us. How many millions has the city saved this winter? Peter Glass. Great question, Peter. And keep those good questions coming. I noticed you were digging at me a little bit on why maybe I'm not digging as much, but we together can be digging, and that's the way you do it. You ask questions, and hopefully the questions get to the right people. It's all we have. We can't go around with guns ablazing. We can't go around, doing things like that. All we have is the ability to shine light in darkness. That's all we have the ability sometimes to do, legally, that is, right? So let's shine the light wherever we can. And that is a great question. How many millions has the city saved this winter? Because there wasn't much snow removal that had to take place, right? So that's a great question. And I don't know if you've ever heard my idea of a transparent city, talking about 15-minute cities and environmentally friendly cities and all these things. How about a transparent city where everything is posted on a website? So the whole budget, every single cent is posted where it went and why. So you have all the budget there and the money coming in. So we know exactly how much money is coming in, where it's coming in from. And any citizen, because it's our money, really, can go on this website and just look at it, because it's possible, because we have the technology to do this now, and look at everyone's salaries, all the people working at the city, all their salaries, a little description of their jobs, and where all the budget is going to, resources in the city or services, and everybody can see it. And then someone might be able to point something out then and say, do you think that's the most efficient way of doing something? And there's an area to chat about things with people, and people can really get informed and make good suggestions to those that they elect to get in there and do the thing and help them and support them, sustain them, if you will, in their roles. And I think a lot of times they don't feel that. They feel like they're just bombarded with things from all angles. And I think something like a transparent city model would solve a lot of that. It's just everything's out in the open. Now you have a problem though, because if there are some things where money's kind of like here and there, a friend gets a contract here and a little bit of this and a little bit of that. Well, that won't be able to exist in the transparent city. And there's a lot of people who would have a problem with that. Just like possibly the new mayor said that he does not think that an audit of the city is even appropriate. It's too expensive. That's the reason he said anyways. It was too expensive. But then I put out the idea of why don't we get somebody who's ready to volunteer, a very, very capable, experienced person that maybe is a retired accountant who worked in a large corporation, who's used to doing things like this, who would more than be happy to lend their services to audit our city and go from there, right? And it wouldn't cost us a cent, and there would be somebody willing to do that. I guarantee it. So what about that? Why isn't that suggestion looked at? Because there'd be things found. And there are people who don't want those things to be found. So did I say that out loud? I said it out loud. I think it's just the truth. That's why we don't have transparency in this world, because the world was designed like a computer program for good and evil to exist together. So people could choose either good or evil. That's why we have that, because people are choosing to do things that aren't exactly right at high level positions. We do the same thing at low level, on low levels. When we tell a little lie to our friends or our spouse or our whatever, we do things like that. We're not perfect. We choose to do things that aren't right sometimes. And at the highest levels, it looks bigger because there's bigger things involved, bigger amounts of money, larger things at stake that affect more people, things like that, right? But again, if you have transparency, things get pointed out and hands get slapped, and people in those positions of power don't like their hands to be slapped, for sure. No one does, but it's a bigger slap when it's done publicly, right? So it is what it is. It's the world we live in. We know they did it because a party was broke and would not survive the election, not like it will survive anyways, LOL. Could stop what is happening and chooses not to. That's for Jagmeet Singh, who keeps the coalition going. Jacob Rothschild is dead at 87. Interesting. Did not know this. And if anyone doesn't know why that's significant, the Rothschilds are a very, very, if not the most influential family in the world. If you go back into their history, how they became who they are, it went back to the time even before Napoleon, but the time of Napoleon really made the Rothschilds who they are today. They had somebody who was quicker at getting the news back to England. They said Napoleon actually won the war. Napoleon won the war, and so the stock market, everyone was selling off their stocks, and the Rothschilds bought them up pennies on the dollar, and then the real word got back to England that no, Napoleon actually lost the war. And at that point, Rothschild basically bought up the whole economy of England, basically. And there you have the beginning of the Rothschilds' domination of the world in terms of wealth. And when you have wealth, you have influence. And so that is significant. Thank you. And I hope I didn't dumb down that history too much and just say it too much in a nutshell, but that's what I just did. Miles, they are in the midst of passing pharmacopoeia, okay, which is spiral Canada into complete bankruptcy. I hope I pronounced that correctly. My eyes aren't the greatest. Pharmacopoeia. And I'm not exactly sure. Pharmacare. Okay, thank you. I thought, okay, just early in the morning. But anyways, yeah, Pharmacare possibly could. And you're saying bankrupt the country, and whether it's done by design or incompetence, right? That is the question we have to ask ourselves these days. Good morning, Sudbury Manick. Brian, good morning, Sudbury campers. Liette, a credit score is not a currency. Complete control, dystopian. We will get there today, hopefully. Sorry, Debbie, that is funny. I'm just not going to say it on air, but it's funny. Okay, Marianne, Jack Layton is rolling in his grave, knowing what Singh has done to the party status, possibly. Now, the NDP party, the ideology, I'm just not a fan myself. If you really look into the ideology of it, it's basically like a, what do you call it? Socialist Democrat, but basically communist, right? It's like a warm, cuddly communist party. I'm not a fan. And when you really break down communism, it doesn't work in this world at all. Because of the whole good and evil thing, when you have too many people in power in a communistic society, they say it's for everybody, but then eventually, because people are corrupt inside, can be corrupted, let's say, the people at the top are corrupted in a communist society as well, even though they say it's for everybody and everyone's equal. Everyone's more equal in a capitalist society. I know it's hard for people in Canada to hear that, but you have equal opportunity, whereas communist tries to force equal outcome. It tries to force everyone to be equal. Whereas capitalism says, I'll give you all the tools so that way you can be equal if you utilize the tools to be, kind of thing. And again, that's oversimplifying it, but that's what it boils down to. Forcing equality or giving people the opportunity to be equal with the tools that you give them and allow them to do it themselves. You want to be equal? You want to be richer? You don't want to do anything? You can do whatever you want in that world. Communist, not so much. Everyone's forced to be equal. And that's what we're getting here with this social credit score, right? You have to do what you're told to do, and everyone has to be the same, or you're punished by not going along with the masses. And what the masses have to do is whatever the government tells them they have to do. Okay, so Jagmeet Singh and Justin Trudeau, lovers in a dangerous time. Okay. Some jokes coming through, so appreciate that. Snow removal budget is annual, so there is still November and December next year that go along with the budget. So that's to Peter Glass's statement there. So thanks for that, Miles. I really appreciate it. Now we're going to have to kind of move along here. I got off to a little bit of a late start this morning, and that's my fault. Much apologies for that. But good morning, Denise. Thanks for being with us. I really appreciate all of your comments. Keep them coming, as we know that it's very important for everybody to kind of weigh in on things here. So locally, there's a couple things going on. And then the weather is the huge story of the day. If you missed the weather, we're going to have crazy weather tomorrow, basically. But starting today into tomorrow. So 2 days of crazy weather coming up, and that is thunderstorms with showers possibly this morning, this afternoon, and then changing to freezing rain and snow and getting extremely cold to the point of the minus 30 with the wind chill. So it's going to be a crazy one, and it could bring, not only bad conditions to drive, but what it's going to do to our grid kind of thing. If there's too much rain and it's icy and it's heavy, and who knows, right? So we've had problems like this in Canada before. So that's the main story of the day. But I want to encourage everybody to head to Sudbury.news, where it's our news aggregator. And you can see all the news outlets covering the weather story here on Sudbury.news. So you have CTV, Northern Ontario, CBC, Sudbury, and Sudbury.com and Sudbury Star. And I just mentioned CTV, Northern Ontario, and I noticed yesterday on, it was a group, I Grew Up in Sudbury on Facebook, and they were mourning the loss of 3 news anchors from here. And, they're just gone. They're part of the cuts, I guess. Some of them might have taken early retirement, but they were really impacted. Like, news anchors really people get attached. It's, they have a relationship with them. They're used to them being there. Their comfort. They listen to what they got to say. They just kind of develop a relationship, even though it's kind of one-sided. You're watching this news anchor, but people were really impacted by the 3 main news anchors that will no longer be reporting the news on CTV, Northern Ontario. And it is huge for a lot of people. All part of the cuts, the 4,800 cuts that are going to lessen the amount of news that we get here. So Bob on YouTube has a question about the budget. It's not from April to March, not January to December. So Miles, you can take that question there. I just noticed that. So head on over to Sudbury.news, where you have all the news aggregated into one convenient location. But I usually, because Sudbury.com does such a good job with their stories to start your day, they usually have a couple stories with enough of the story to cover that can get us going on the show, right? So there was a fire at St. Andrew's Place, downtown Sudbury. It broke out yesterday morning. Under control, says the Deputy Police Chief, Jesse O'Shell, like just shortly after the fire at 6 p.m. He said it was under control. One person was taken to hospital, significant smoke inhalation, and 2 people were treated by paramedics on site. He said later on, firefighters continued sweeping the building for residents. At least 2 more people were taken out of the building. One was escorted by firefighters and taken out by paramedics. So that's interesting. Took place, the fire took place on the 4th floor of the high-rise building and resulted in smoke, migrated to the top floor. At approximately 5:30 p.m., smoke was seen blowing out of the 4th floor window at the rear of the Larch Street building downtown. The cause of the fire is yet unknown. Another story, the Laurentian President's Home is being sold, a mix of potential buyers and more than a few looky-loos. That's an interesting wordage there by the author from Sudbury.com. Packed the Laurentian University President's House February 25th during an open house in advance of the sale. The home is listed for $900,000. It was built, $899,000. Built in 1930, the house is not only expensive, but has hosted many big names, including former Prime Minister Jean Chrétien. And that's what the regional sales lead and sales representative for the listing agency told Sudbury.com from Unreserved. Chrétien's late wife, Aileen Chrétien, was Laurentian University's first chancellor. Other famous guests at the president's house include authors, film stars, and academic greats. The home's original builder only stayed there for about 5 years, said Martin, the sales agent, before a man with a huge family moved in and made use of the home's 6 bedrooms, 6 bathrooms, 2 fireplaces, and spacious high ceilinged living room filled with natural light. There you go. So if you're looking for a house, 6 bedrooms, 6 bathrooms, 2 fireplaces, for $900,000, you can have the Laurentian University President's House. It'll be all yours. And you can have bragging rights that some famous people stayed in your house. Transitional housing complex now on track to open by July. You know that where the $1.5 million went to the scammer there. That said they were the contractor for this. We got $1 million back from it, I think, already, and we're looking for the other $500,000 from that thing. The troubled transitional housing complex project on Lorraine Street is now back open to open in July, and remains on budget despite its challenges. City Community Development and General Manager Steve Jacques gave City Council an update on the project last week, noting that tradespeople are on site working on the first 2 floors. The 3rd and 4th floor of the 40-unit complex are expected to arrive for placement in mid-March, as hopefully the weather continues to improve. I would say the weather continues to be good. And the snow leaves, then we start to do the groundwork and the finish, Jacques said, adding that there has been marginal delay in the project's timing. When a ceremonial groundbreaking was held for the project in June of 2023, it was anticipated to open by the end of that year. So it's looking like, it's going to be about 6 months off target. We anticipate there will be some delays, but we're being reassured by our trades and our providers that they're endeavoring to meet the timelines. So there you go. You'll have the Lorraine Street housing project done, but they said, what was it, July? Yeah, by July. Now, in other news, more federal news, we have this online act or this online bill that's coming forward. They say it's for our protection or to protect our kids. But first, John Stossel talks about the dangers of anything online to begin with anyways. Now, the bill doesn't even look at any of this stuff, but it goes pretty much in line with what we want to talk about. Is it what they say? Is this online bill for the protection of children, or is it going to work into the plans of something else? So first of all, let's look at the potential of anything to be used online from John Stossel, and we'll be back right after this. It's an interesting watch, so you'll want to stick with us.
I want to know about everything that everyone is doing. That's unconstitutional.
This woman playing both judge and government agent is Naomi Brockwell, who used to work for me.
Wait, what are you doing? I'm buying data about everything that everyone is doing.
Brockwell's YouTube channel argues that tech companies and government violate the Fourth Amendment.
Who are you again? I'm the Fourth Amendment.
It gives us the right to be secure against unreasonable searches.
So you can't just collect and search all their information. Oof, that's awkward. I just did.
Her point is that our government now constantly spies on us.
Consumer data is being resold to companies that buy and sell data for the government.
Many people say this tracking us is a good thing.
It's not only good for the companies, it's good for the user because it makes for a much more seamless experience.
If you've forgotten where you've been or what you've searched for to get there, Google has your back.
These make my life easier. Convenience matters.
Convenience absolutely matters, but privacy is important.
Brockwell's videos are popular. Hundreds of thousands of people are watching them. They presumably are worried about their privacy. What's wrong with me? I don't care if they have this information.
I think you should care. Let's talk about the US government. They know what color underwear you like to buy and what kinds of videos make you just scroll a little bit slower. And
so what?
That data is forever. That data is stored in permanent records associated with your identity, in databases in Utah. And you have no control over what regime might come to power tomorrow. You have no control over which hacker might get access to that data. You have no control over what societal norms might change in the next 10 years. And that data suddenly becomes incriminating. You're basically making a bet that you and the people with the guns will always stay on good terms. And that is a bad bet.
People with the guns means the government.
The people who have a monopoly on force, the people who have the ability to put you in jail. You're making a bet that you're gonna stay on good terms with them. And I don't think that's a reasonable bet to make because laws change all the time. Just look at abortion laws, right? Suddenly overnight, abortion becomes illegal and women who perhaps wanted an abortion, they went from being a law-abiding citizen to suddenly they were a criminal. This is a big deal. This is just an example of one law. What if they made cryptocurrency illegal? What if they made guns illegal? And everyone who partakes in that suddenly becomes a criminal.
I'm a public person. The government knows I criticize them.
Get out of my life.
Privacy comes down to choice, right? It's not that I want everything that I do to remain private. It's that I deserve to have the right to selectively reveal to the world what I want them to see. So don't sign in using Google. They don't need this information about you. Privacy is fundamental to a free society. Look at any whistleblower, any NGO worker or human rights activist or a dissident or a journalist who's pushing back against an authoritarian regime. Look at what happened in China, in Hong Kong.
The Communist Party has now revealed a plan to bring Hong Kong to heel.
Hong Kong used to be a bastion of freedom.
When China crushed that freedom, the government used people's phones to track and punish protesters.
And they're persecuting them. And now people are too afraid to do anything.
Hong Kong's political freedoms have been eroded.
It's easy for government to track people because the apps on our phones record where we are and more.
I've been watching you.
Who gave you permission to record me?
You did, boo. When you downloaded this app, you gave the app permission to access your camera.
Wait, so just giving an app permission to use the camera means that they can record me whenever they want?
But once you grant us technical access, baby, you're just relying on the honor system.
Think about all the apps on your phone that you've given permission to access your camera.
Facebook was caught activating a phone camera. But here Google's boss reminded Congress it's the customer's choice.
If you're using a fitness application, which is detecting the number of steps you walk, you expect it to send that information. But it's a choice users make.
You've probably given location permission, you've given microphone permission, camera
so
permission.
So they work better.
So you're happy with one of these obscure apps where you know nothing about the developers to be able to look through your private photos?
I don't think they want to look at my private photos.
And that's the presumption you're making.
If they know where I am, they can recommend a car repair shop near me or a restaurant near me. I like that.
I think that it's creepy personally, but it goes further than that. These companies have a whole business model of selling that data. You have no idea where it ends up. It could be ending up in the hands of the Chinese government. It could be ending up in the hands of, hackers on the dark web who want to target you with phishing scams. It could be ending up in the hands of political regimes who want to target you with specific content to get you to think in a certain way, to get you to hate certain people.
China is trying to interfere in U.S. politics and try to stir up tensions.
And you're probably oblivious that any of this stuff is going on.
Oblivious unless we notice how specifically they market to us.
Target's advanced advertising system even knew about a teenage girl's pregnancy before she could break the news to her own father.
The only time I get creeped out is when I suddenly see an ad and it's like, oh my God, were they just listening to me? How did they know to send me this?
They know.
But they're not listening to me.
Did you give them permission to access your microphone?
Probably.
Probably. They might be listening to you. Let me have a look at your phone. I want to see what apps you have on your phone. We'll take a look. See, I mean, you have so many apps on your phone right here, John. If I were you, I would delete almost all of these apps. First of all, because
I like them.
I know you like them, but you're taking your phone around with you everywhere you go. It's an intensely personal device. The government is purchasing all this data about us. They're creating records about all of us, and that's a really scary thing.
In a future video, I'll show you which apps she told me to delete, and I took some of her suggestions.
Yeah, and again, I'm sure we've all had that happen to us. You're just talking with a friend of yours, and welcome to the show, Adam. Thanks for being on, and hope you're having a good morning. Also, have you ever had that happen? You're just talking about a friend, I'm thinking of going on a ski trip somewhere, and then all of a sudden an advertisement comes up on Facebook for new skis or a ski vacation somewhere else or something like that. And you're like, what the heck? How did that happen? Well, again, that happens to many of us because your app is indeed listening to you. And you go, is it actually listening to me? Yes, it is. And we still marvel about that. But it is what it is. Okay. So this Canada, speaking of the government, they're saying that they want to do something with the internet, but that's to save your kids. They want to save your kids now all of a sudden.
And it into a digital identification system. Despite the trust us narrative,
he'll get to
legislation to combat harmful online content. This is a very, very hot topic right now. Pierre Poilievre is getting accused of supporting digital ID. Huge pushback. Then he said, no, I do not support a digital ID. And the guts of this bill, this motion, is very broad. So we're going to dive into this and try and figure it out. First, let's watch Pierre Poilievre.
Now, you supported a law that would require age verification before accessing pornography online. I know this has been a hot topic. And I know there's talk of the creation of a digital government ID or facial scans using a webcam. And I understand that one of your spokespeople have said that the party does not support requiring users to verify their age through a digital ID. So if you led this government, how would you enforce that age verification process?
We're against digital IDs, and we're against people having to supply a driver's license to a questionable website. There are a number of ways you do it. One, you could bring in criminal penalties for the pornography websites who deliberately target kids, the way we have penalties for tobacco companies and liquor companies that deliberately target kids. Secondly, we can give parents new digital tools to make their kids' devices disabled certain types of websites, and that would empower the parents to protect the kids. Those are some of the common sense solutions that we need to protect our kids in a dangerous online world.
Okay, so just to confirm, no digital ID and no facial recognition of any type.
No.
Now
It's crazy though, like once the technology is out there, it's out there. And with Bill C-11 and C-18 making it extremely hard to do business in Canada already, red tape in Canada for business is always bad. It's just another thing or another reason for them to not want to do business here, because it just makes it that much more harder. This legislation or this motion has another government body attached to it, and it's right here. So Ottawa to create regulator to hold online platforms accountable for harmful content. New regulator will be separate from the CRTC. The Online Harms Act, expected to be introduced by the federal government on Monday, will introduce the creation of a new regulator that would hold online platforms accountable for harmful content they host. So the new regulator body is expected to oversee a digital safety office with the mandate of reducing online harm and will be separate from the Canadian radio, the CRTC. Two sources, including one with the federal government with knowledge of Monday's legislation, confirmed the creation of the office, saying it will require Canadian websites to uphold a duty to reduce harm and comply with federal law, or else. It's not clear whether the regulator will have power only over online platforms hosted in Canada or all websites accessible by Canadians. So now, you know what? Let's go. This is Liberal House Leader Stephen McKinnon talking about Pierre Poilievre. Now that you know that Pierre Poilievre denounced it, listen to what he has to say. This is him from this morning.
Government has to act.
Are you the Conservatives have already said?
Well, of course, we're hoping it goes to committee.
Are you hoping that this bill will, this motion that you are proposing today will help speed along the process to get online harms at least to committee before the big break happens in the summer?
We have a lot of, and one thing I think is often overlooked is this has been a very productive parliament up until, Mr. Poilievre started getting more desperate with his temper tantrums. We've put a lot of solid things that I think Canadians have now come to count on in place. And we're here to get more results. And that's what we're going to keep doing.
The Conservatives have said that this legislation is an attack on freedom of expression.
Yeah, of course they do.
So what will you be doing to try and get this legislation passed?
Well, Mr. Poilievre came out in support of a digital ID last week. And he came out in support of a bill that we think that the government voted against and we think is flawed. We think that this response is a much more comprehensive and meaningful response to the dangers posed online than the bill that he supports. And it's pretty cynical of Mr. Poilievre to be opposing this bill when he says he wants to protect children as well.
Poilievre does say he doesn't support a digital ID. I guess what other mechanisms?
Well, the bill does.
So what concerns do you have, I guess, then, regarding S210, some Liberal members?
He says he doesn't support a digital ID that is contained in the bill that he supports.
Some Liberal members did vote in favor of it. Are they going to be walking back their votes? Have you talked to your caucus about this?
The online harms bill, we think, is a more comprehensive response to the issue, and I suspect that you'll see that Liberal MPs will much prefer that bill. Merci beaucoup.
The bills that they write up suck. They absolutely suck. And I think it's a tale of the times where they don't really read what's through them. And it is so vague. It's like the story of Canada. Canada is just a huge gray area when it comes to law because they need to dance around all the different types of cultures and people and who knows what. It's criminal is what it is. So here is a bit of a breakdown of kind of what's in it and what we can expect, but it's nefarious. There are so many nefarious things inside of it. And it sucks working online and doing things online, knowing you are being watched and listened to all the time. It's ridiculous. And coming from the most corrupt government in Canadian history is in charge of the most suppressing censorship style legislation in Canadian history. Like, man. So here we go. So inside of this thing, it allows the government to order ISPs to prevent access to sexually explicit material without a court order or any other oversight. It requires age verification methods, but is intentionally scant on details for what this would entail. There are no transparency provisions related to the number of notices issued, court applications, etc. It provides regulation making powers to prescribe age verification methods, but the criteria and safeguards laid out regarding privacy are extremely vague, which will provide leeway to design a verification system with extra functions beyond just age. It gives the go-ahead to create new types of age verification technology that we might not want, like facial recognition, stuff like that. Age verification naturally lends itself to be expanded into a digital identification system. Despite the trust us narrative from the conservative politicians and social conservatives, once the infrastructure exists for age verification, adding additional identifiers becomes much more feasible. The bill does not include restrictions on retaining data or using it for secondary purposes, providing an opportunity to morph age verification into a more expansive digital identification program. Think a social credit system. It states that age verification methods should destroy any personal information collected for age verification purposes once the verification is completed, but it does not lay out any consequences for non-compliance. Just trust us. Oh yeah, we delete it when we're done with it. How do we know? Nobody knows. The enforcement mechanisms in the bill could set precedent for interrupting access to internet services based on identity verification, social credit system. This is the dreaded slippery slope for applying digital identification requirements more broadly. Freedom requires constant vigilance. This means protecting personal freedoms that you may not necessarily use yourself. There is something broader and more nefarious at play here than a doomed to fail attempt, at just protecting kids from what they see online. It's like for your safety, right? They're using kids' safety for this to push something else. The social credit system is what really freaks me out. And I swear that everybody's going to go in a full circle. I really do. I think we're going to get bombarded so much with all of this digital shit that we're not going to want it anymore. And we're going to walk away from it.
I'm not sure that prediction is going to be true, but I do believe it's just done in the name of child safety to bring in a digital ID. And whether you go along with it or not will determine whether you can buy groceries at the grocery store, right? So if you want to eat, as one of our viewers is talking about, not getting enough of it, you'll get zero of it with you don't have the digital ID. So everyone goes along with it, or you have to figure out another way to support yourself is where it's going to come down to, right? So you go along with it, hook, line, and sinker, or you don't participate at all. There's no fence sitting on this one. Jordan Peterson, thanks to Liette for sending this to me, goes right along with what we're talking about today, and I think he could get the last word for today.
So in China, for example, this is going to happen here, I think, too, although maybe people will fight it. If a traffic camera catches you jaywalking in China, the digital ID system has you. It has your blood now. It has your genetic code. Has your photograph. It can identify how you walk, so even if you can't see a face, you can be picked up by gait. It will convict you of jaywalking and take money out of your bank account with no intermediating judiciary at all, and show a picture of you to the people in the neighborhood so they know that you have jaywalked, and reduce your social credit score. And if your social credit score falls below a certain level, then you can't buy drinks from a vending machine. You can't play video games. You can't go on a train. You can't get out of your 15-minute city. All that's already in place in China. I think it would bring in, and has already in China, I think it'll bring in a totalitarian tyranny so 100% complete that it would make George Orwell's 1984 look like a picnic.
Well, on that positive note today, that's all the time we have for the show. Just thought that, there's a lot going on here. It's not just a child safety bill. Like, really? Like, if you're, again, could politicians lie? Do politicians lie? Have politicians ever lied before? Have they ever said something they were going to do one thing and then do another thing, but they knew why they were doing it, all along? Has that ever happened even once in history? Just even once, anywhere in any country, from any government? Just once? So could that be possible? And if you do look and connect the dots, it's pretty easy to see what's going on. And that bill that they're passing right now would just stop me from just saying what I just said, because it's harmful. It'll be harmful to somebody. Someone will complain. As long as someone complains, which there's many people who will complain because it doesn't sound like their CBC or their something they're used to. It just sounds a little bit different. So something must be wrong. And the CBC tells them, listen for these people who sound different from us online. They're dangerous and they need to be stopped. And so they go, okay, that's true. They need to be stopped. I'm going to complain. And then I'll be off the air or taken to jail or lose my credit score, if I even have one at that time, if I go along with the whole thing, which I probably, the more I'm learning about it, it's probably not something I want to sign up for. So there you go. That is your Sudbury News, brought to you by Sudbury.news, I guess. And thanks for being with us. Thanks for commenting. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And we'll see you, God willing, same time, same place on these platforms tomorrow. Have a great and wonderful Tuesday, but stay safe out there as the weather. Keep your eye on the weather and prepare wherever you need to go accordingly. Stay safe. We'll see you tomorrow, same time, same place. Ciao.